South Carolina Congressman Mark Sanford, who has said he will vote for Trump but feels conflicted about the whole thing. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us right now. So yesterday, Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, and I know you know Kellyanne, said that his pledge, Donald Trump's pledge to form a deportation force to send undocumented immigrants back home was, quote, to be determined. This morning, Donald Trump insisted, I'm not flip-flopping on this issue, but if he did decide against using a deportation force, wouldn't that be a flip-flop?
Yeah, it would, and you'd have a lot of people really upset. I think that the energy behind the Trump candidacy has not been Donald Trump himself, but it has been people's dissatisfaction with Washington and the normal course of things in politics. So, you know, saying one thing in a primary process and then equivocating when you get to the general election, I think would not bode well based on how fired up people are out there and how much they want to see change.
There are a lot of people, though, who think it may be a smart move for him to soften, even if it is, as you put it, a flip-flop. Do you think that kind of softening would be smart?
Well, not for his base. I mean, the base, again, I spent a lot of time out in the field talking to voters, and people are fed up. They're at the breaking point. You know, if they don't get change now, they hope for hope and change when Obama came along. They don't feel like they got it. The Trump candidacy has represented a new version of hope and change, certainly different in terms of philosophy, but hope and change nonetheless. And if they don't get it this round, I mean, you're going to see people in the streets. I mean, people are really frustrated. They feel like their incomes have stagnated. They feel like the prospects for the kids are not where they'd like to see them. And so, yeah, in a traditional political sense, it might make sense. But given the fervor and the foment that I see out there, I don't think so. I think it would be a real problem.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about what Donald Trump is saying today. He's calling on the Clintons to shut down the Clinton Foundation altogether. He says to address any concerns about possible preferential treatment for foundation donors. Now, it's interesting because I know that you disapprove of Donald Trump's refusal to release his tax returns. You wrote an op-ed on the subject. Does the fact that he refuses to release his tax returns, does that undermine his credibility when it comes to transparency?
I would think so. You know, again, it's a tough spot to be, but I mean, I think we need to keep in mind the fact that, you know, Kellyanne herself back in the spring was saying that Trump ought to release his tax returns. It's not an unreasonable position when you have more than almost 50 years worth of tradition in presidential candidates releasing their tax returns. And I think the important part is the trickle-down effect. I ran for governor of South Carolina twice. I had to release my tax returns, and we do that at the state level because it's done at the presidential level. If you discontinue that tradition now, not only will you see it disappear at the federal level, but I think equally important in a whole host of states across this country, gubernatorial candidates or other high-ranking candidates won't release their tax returns. And I think that, you know, as voters, that's something we want to determine whether you're voting on the Republican or the Democratic side.
On the substance of what Donald Trump is calling for the Clinton Foundation to shut down, do you support that?
You know, it's creepy, the connection. Clearly, there's some pay to play. I think it really bothers people. I think that there ought to be more disclosure. I think that, you know, Hillary's, for instance, speeches to the Wall Street groups ought to be, those transcripts ought to be made public. I think that on both the right side and the left side, the Republican and Democratic side, there's a bit more to go from the standpoint of transparency. On the Clinton side, from the standpoint of the foundation and some of her speeches, and on the Republican side, Trump needs to release his tax returns.
All right, since you are such an active observer and analyst of this presidential campaign right now, I'm going to try to go one more to the well here. Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, said that Donald Trump doesn't hurl personal insults, at least not anymore. I want to show you a tweet, though, from Donald Trump just this morning. He was writing about Morning Joe on MSNBC. He says, tried watching low-rated Morning Joe this morning. Unwatchable. Morning Mika is off the wall. A neurotic and not very bright mess. I have to tell you, he actually wrote far worse things than this. These clearly seem like the kinds of personal attacks that Kellyanne Conway says that Donald Trump doesn't do, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the world of political doublespeak that drives everybody crazy, whether they're in South Carolina or California. I mean, it is what it is. He's hurled a whole number of different insults, whether he's talking about, you know, Carly's face or talking about the latest with Morning Joe. I don't get it. I think it's destructive. I think it's against the kind of bearing demeanor you'd like to see at the presidential level. I think again, it sends a bad signal to young kids out there that that's cool. So I think most people have a problem with it. Most of the Republican voters I've talked to have said they don't like that part, but they'll put up with it based on the fact that they really don't want to see Hillary elected.
Last question. Are you any less conflicted about Donald Trump, voting for Donald Trump, than you have been, Congressman?
No, and again, a big deal for me are the tax returns. Again, it's a promise he made. I didn't make the promise. He said he would disclose his tax returns. He could disclose, again, the portions not under audit, the years not under audit right now, even if he held back the year for audit. It's something that, again, I think would be disastrous if we discontinue a 50-year tradition from the standpoint of presidential candidates disclosing their tax returns. It gives insights into what that candidate has or hadn't done, the truth of certain promises that they've made, the truth of certain claims that they've made. I think it's very, very important and would be disastrous to discontinue.